What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Forward Progress, live here on the Forward Progress HQ YouTube channel, part of the Hammer Betting Network. And today I'm Jason Cooper alongside Eric Eager, the VP of Sumer Sports. Today we're going to be looking at some interesting recent news here. Michael Penix recently picked 8th overall in the NFL draft, which was a shock to almost everybody, Eric. I mean, we did a mock draft over here on the Hammer Betting Network, and one of the most interesting calls of the offseason was by you, where you said, hey, the Falcons should probably pick a quarterback in their position. But I don't think you had Michael Penix in mind as that quarterback here. So maybe give a little bit of clarity as to why you think the Atlanta Falcons picked Michael Penix, and then also why you think it was actually not as bad as people are making out to be for them to be picking quarterback.
Yeah, I think that I thought that they would take McCarthy for a couple of reasons. I thought that Cousins, the $100 million is a lot, but when I look at this regime, like Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson, they're all starting out, but Terry Fontenot is not. Terry Fontenot is in year 4 of being a general manager. My boss, Thomas Dimitroff, was the last guy to win 8 or more games with this franchise, and that was in 2017. So the Falcons with Fontenot are saying, look, we're trying to get the quarterback who is elite at winning 8 games. That is Kirk Cousins, right? They went out and got him somewhat sight unseen, right? They almost tampered away the pick. They got him in the building. Now he's doing the rounds. He's wearing the Kirko chains at Atlanta United FC games, Atlanta Braves games over here across the street from me. And I got to think that Kirk came out of the box a little bit hurt still, and he's not quite ready. And so if you're Fontenot, that team, especially offensively, is mostly ready-made. The offensive line's pretty good. They have some weapons. They could use some secondary receivers. But defensively, you needed a pass rusher. And that's why everybody thought Dallas Turner was the guy. But for me, I was like, okay, Kirk is not going to be around forever. And given that signing already happened, you still need to have a thought for the future, and similar ideas with the Jets as well. Like everybody says, what happens if Joe Douglas fails to make the playoffs? They're probably all fired, but what happens if they make it? Then you still have to have some young talent to build the roster with. So taking a quarterback felt like a reasonable choice. Now, I think where I stop and question the pick is the Penix one. Penix being expected draft position of 25, betting market is 32 or so, and I know he's juiced under eventually, but very much a reach there. Whereas McCarthy's betting line was 5.5, you were going to get, relative to the markets, a steal to the extent that they exist at 8, passing the Giants there, and a guy who's much, much younger. So when he finally gets on the field, he's going to be more of a Jordan Love than he's going to be a Brandon Weeden or a Chris Wenke age-wise. So not to excuse the pick, but I did think it was very possible that they were going to go quarterback, and I thought at least thinking to the future there was sound, even though they basically overpaid for Cousins. And I think that the draft pick here signals even their admission that they overpaid for Cousins. So the totality of it is a mistake, in my opinion. Like, don't sign Cousins if you're going to turn around and draft the quarterback. But given that you signed Cousins, you needed to start thinking about the future. And if you're Terry Fontenot and Cousins doesn't work out, you need some hedge against that. And we know from sports betting, like all hedges, and most hedges, not all, of course, most hedges are negative EV. This is a negative EV hedge for the Falcons. And so that's the way to look at it. There's an outside chance he starts early because Kirk Cousins might not even be ready from the Achilles surgery in week 1. But all intents and purposes, I think Penix is starting by middle of next year, as early as the beginning of next year, and you're just taking a huge dead money hit, and a lot of the surplus that you get from drafting a quarterback high goes away by the fact that you have Cousins there, and in all likelihood, Penix is not that elite quarterback that outstrips the coverage of the rookie contract by that much. So it's a puzzling pick by the Falcons, even though the quarterback was certainly in their purview even prior to the draft.
Before we get into the next part of the episode, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at Pinnacle. Pinnacle is the world's sharpest sportsbook, offering competitive odds for 25 years. If you're looking to bet on the NFL, NBA, NCAA football, or any sport for that matter, you should have Pinnacle as one of your available outs. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. Must be 19 plus, and please play responsibly.
Yeah, and I like what you said there, and I've noticed a lot of discourse around this online. A lot of people feel like when they're arguing pro this move, pro the Michael Penix pick, I feel like it's arguing in bad faith because JJ McCarthy was right there. You could have had a younger a quarterback that was deemed by the market to be better. Maybe your internal scouts don't agree with that. But again, I think the age is a really big factor here. Something that I want to discuss, though, is that dead money that they're going to have to take on with regards to Kirk Cousins. I'm going to pull up over the cap here. We got Kirk Cousins' contract. Maybe you can walk us through kind of how the structure might benefit the Falcons, how you can cut him in the third year and not really take as much dead money on post-June.
Yeah, so even in the second year, like if Cousins were to be a player who Penix would replace even this year, the dead money, like that's a lot, 40 million, but you're not taking on any more. You're not increasing your cap charges the way that you would be if you cut him like post June 1 now. And so like that's where you see sort of the zero cap savings. You see the 40 million dead money. 40 million dead money is atrocious, obviously. But notice there the guaranteed salary for Cousins is nothing in years 3 and 4. So if you cut him after 2 years, all you're doing is basically taking that 25 million that's left on the prorated signing bonus and splitting it over 2 years. So if you do cut Cousins after 2 years, you're basically taking on 12 and a half dead in years 3 and 4 post June 1. And so you can do that. Now, the issue with post June 1, of course, is you can't use that money, that extra 12 and a half million that you are saving. You can't use that until post June 1. So that money would have to be saved for things like contract extensions for Kyle Pitts or contract extensions for players that you want to extend, like Drake London or something. But you can get out of this after 2 years comfortably. After 1 year would be a pain in the ass, but you can get out of it with a big dead cap charge of $40 million, but it would be ripping the Band-Aid off. So this is very much a 1 to 2 year commitment to Cousins with some kiss goodbye by Kirk if you let him go after 2 years, and a slap in the face if you let him go after 1 year.
Yeah, and also at the same time, it could be this year, right? We don't know how well Kirk Cousins is going to recover from that Achilles injury. It's on his planting foot. So, I mean, I don't think we've ever really seen a 36-year-old quarterback come back from an Achilles injury with his planting foot. We've never really seen that kind of a storm of events here. So, all in all, if you were to grade the pick, the Michael Penix pick at number 8 overall, what would you give the Falcons for that pick? What grade would you give them?
I mean, I'm a hard grader because I just don't know historically if there's evidence for out evaluating. Like my book, chapter 7, I believe, Football Analytics with Python and R, goes through it. And like over the course of the last 20 years, only 2 teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers, have beaten the market per adjusting for pick. And no teams other than Cleveland, which is hilarious, have lost to the market per pick. And so, and when you think about, 0.05 confidence interval, it's basically no one. No one outbeats the market for pick. So if you're like, oh, the Eagles got to steal with Quinyon Mitchell and Hubert DeJean, like that's not really a thing, right? The only thing these teams do is they can reach, and the Falcons reached here. And so in my grading scale for drafts, which goes from F to C, the Falcons probably get an F here, right? Just based upon the whole totality of the situation. Now, if Penix ends up being an amazing quarterback, then of course I'm wrong. And that's variance, and that's how things work. But you can't, and you are going for variance in the draft. You are not going for median outcomes. It's just there's so many fewer outs for the Falcons to get the high-end variance out of Penix because he's not going to be playing for a year, probably 2 years.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, Eric, for that. We appreciate it. That's it from us here over on Forward Progress. If you want some more news and reaction videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like today's video, hit that like button as well. Drop a comment on your thoughts on the Michael Penix pick. What would you give a grade for that pick? Curious to hear what everyone has to say on that one. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next one.